What's going on, y'all? My name's Christian Mullen, and welcome to Money and Mouth Productions, a YouTube channel dedicated to character growth. This is a series I like to call Inspirational Characters, where I talk about inspirational characters. Today I want to talk a little bit about Alex Hormozi. So who's Alex Hormozi? Well, in short, he is buff, rich, entrepreneur, YouTuber. Warning! Everything I'm talking about here today is coming right off the top of my noggin. There's zero research, so what I'm about to say, the stories I'm about to tell, the order of events, the sequence in which I'm telling these stories may not be in factual order. So take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. Please, and thank you. How did I discover Alex Hormozi? I discovered Alex Hormozi from work. My boss purchased a program called Gym Launch. And at first I didn't really know what it was. I thought it was just a series of nifty videos talking about sales and marketing and how to scale your business and how to get leads and how to nurture leads and how to, get the leads into the gym so that you can potentially make the sale. Little did I know that it was an entire program built to pretty much flip the gym, to pretty much save the business. So yeah, I heard the name Alex Hormozi. I was curious. I wanted to learn more about this system and the person who created it, so I did a little bit of research. And by research, I mean going onto YouTube and looking up podcasts and looking up his name. And I found a lot. He's in a lot of different podcasts. He's quite popular. So on the drive to work, on the drive to my second job, and on the drive back home, I would spend a collective hour and a half listening to podcasts with Alex Hormozi. And, I learned a decent bit. Now, the thing about podcasters is that they have a tendency to ask the same questions. So I've heard Alex Hormozi explain his story at least 12 different times using 80% of the same language. I mean, it's kind of like in sales, you have a script in your head of how you're going to lay the story down, and, that's pretty much how he does it. He's been asked the same question so many times that he just has a routine script in his head for how to answer the question. Anyway, brief history. So the story I want to tell is how Alex Hormozi went from college to eventually owning Gym Launch. To give a little bit of context, Alex Hormozi had a pretty deep resentment against his father. The way he describes it is, I was always playing my father's game. Yeah, and he got to the point where he's like, I don't want to play my father's game anymore. I would rather just play my own. And it was interesting, the evolution of his frustration and rage kind of matched the rise of his level of ambition as well. So it started off as, I want to be able to make as much as my father makes. Then it eventually progressed and evolved to, I want to make as much money as my father has made in his entire life in a single year. So that's just a little bit of context of what his initial motivation was to do all of this. He was just sick and tired of the status quo. He was sick and tired of playing his father's game, and he wanted to make more money than his father ever made, and he just wanted to do what made him happy. So the first step of this entire process was, he knew what his interest was, fitness, and he knew that he wanted to start a gym. So he pretty much just up and left, uprooted, and moved to, I believe, Orlando. So in Orlando, he purchased a location, turned it into a gym, and he gave up everything to make this thing happen. So essentially, he was just sleeping on the floor of his gym for the first 9 months before he was able to afford a place to live. So that in and of itself is a motivation. Sleeping on the floor of your gym, that'll put some fire under your ass to get moving, for sure. But yeah, after those 9 months, he was able to make that initial gym very successful, and he was even able to scale up to 6 total gyms. And he did have, at the time, he had 9 brick and mortar businesses in total at one time, which is just absolutely wild. Basically, Alex was just super overwhelmed with the amount of gyms and brick and mortar businesses that he had, and needed to find a way to make this whole process more efficient. So he found this dude, Russell Brunson, He is the author of a book called .com Secrets, and I think the company is called Funnel Hacking, but it's like Funnel Hackers University or something like that. Alex Hormozi meets Russell Brunson, and Russell Brunson says, dude, what are you doing, man? You have a level 10 skill set with a level 2 opportunity. You need to be showing other people how to launch gyms. Gym launch version 1. Alex took this advice from Russell Brunson and essentially just ran with it. So the first version of gym launch essentially was just Alex hopping onto a plane and flying all over the country to different locations and basically saving gyms. So the way it went, he wouldn't take any money up front. He would just wait until the gym was profitable before he started taking any sort of revenue. Went on to save 45 plus gyms doing this. During this process is when he met Layla Hormozi, his now wife. So as he was doing this gym launch thing, Alex decided to sell all of his brick and mortar businesses. There's just too much overhead, it's too expensive, and it's very difficult to manage your businesses when you're flying across the country and saving other people's gyms. So when he did decide to sell all of his gyms, his business partner at the time decided he didn't trust Alex anymore and decided just to take 90% of all that money and flee. This put Alex into a very difficult position where he was essentially losing thousands of dollars every hour. In his book, $100 Million Offers, he actually explains this entire catastrophe. It's the opening of the book. And he actually shows you a screenshot of, hour upon hour, like thousands of dollars being drained from his bank account. And he eventually was in like tens of thousands of dollars in debt. During this scenario, from the outside looking in, Layla Hormozi really seemed like she was the linchpin that held everything together. They were going out at the time. Alex was just completely emotionally drained and crushed. There came to a point where Layla was like, do you want me around? Like, are we still dating? What's the deal? And Alex was just like, whatever, I don't care. Do whatever you want. So it got to a point where they were riding on one sale. They were riding on one gym launch job. Alex says to Layla, I absolutely need you to crush this. So she flew out to the location and did just that. She absolutely crushed it, and they made a decent amount of money. I couldn't tell you whether they got back up to neutral or if they were still in debt. That I don't know. Basically, she really fucking grabbed the situation by the balls. So after this gigantic gym launch sale, she comes home and Alex essentially says, like, man, listen, if you want to leave, I totally understand. I am a sinking ship. Everything I touch burns. And she just straight up believed in him. She believed in his potential to basically get shit done and rebuild what had been destroyed. Gym launch V2. So the story of how the new version of gym launch came to be is pretty interesting. So once again, all these stories are coming from my memory of all the podcasts that I listen to. So the gist of it is, Alex is on a plane, he's heading home, and so he's calling all the people who he had made gym launch deals with, who he hadn't flown out to. He didn't want to do it anymore. Obviously, he's burned out. He and Layla had a new business. He and Layla both had a new business venture that they were trying to invest in. So he was done with the gym launch thing. So he was calling all these folks just to let them know. And essentially on the phone, they were like, please, I need this. I have employees to pay. I have families to feed. Like, please, I need you to do this. He's like, no, listen, man, I'm done with the gym launch thing. I can't do it anymore. It's just not logistic. And the first person on the phone was like, even if you just teach me how to do it, please. Like, you don't even need to fly out. Just show me what you did. Teach me how you did the gym launch thing. Like, please give me this information. I need it. Not wanting to do it, Alex was like, all right, fine. I can't do it for any less than $6,000. Deal. Did I just make $6,000 in 5 seconds? So after that phone call, Alex had made phone calls to all the people he had this gym launch deal with, had the exact same conversation, and basically just made like, I don't know, 10, 15, $6,000 sales. And that kind of re-sparked the interest in Gym Launch. So basically he took everything that he already did for Gym Launch and just slightly tweaked the product to be, instead of flying out to the gyms and launching the gyms himself, just turned it into essentially a course. So the product now has basically 3 parts, right? So there is the communication part. So they have a site where you can actually text and communicate with the potential prospects of the gym. There is a video course section where they just have a bunch of different videos on like sales, scaling your business, lead nurture, stuff like that, business videos, teaching videos. And the third aspect of the entire Gym Launch course is the actual coaching itself. They have what's called the boiler room, for example. Every single day at 9 o'clock for 30 minutes, we hop on a Zoom call and we just practice sales stuff. So one of the coaches will talk for 5 to 10 minutes explaining like, here's some things that I've seen with you guys, here are some ways to improve. When you're practicing today, keep this, this, and this in mind. And it's pretty dope, man. So yeah, that was essentially the newest form, the new and improved form of Gym Launch. And obviously there were multiple iterations upon that. Like they're just improving the business model as time goes on. Eventually Alex and Layla got to a point where they were like, yeah, we want to focus on different stuff. Gym Launch is cool, but we really want to sell it and focus on different pursuits. So they essentially got like perfected it to a point, because in order to sell it, they wanted to make sure that the product was at like as perfect as possible. So essentially they fixed all the tweaks, they plugged all the gaps, and they got Gym Launch to a place where it was pretty much as good as it was going to get. And then they sold it. And now their main company is acquisitions.com. And that's pretty much their main focus right now. Lessons learned. So through Alex's story, there's just a lot to get from it. And one of the biggest pieces, I believe, was just persistence and resilience. If you're on the road to success, if you're trying to become an entrepreneur or a YouTuber, or you're trying to do whatever you want to do, whatever your dreams are that you're actually trying to fulfill, you're going to be met with a lot of resistance. And unless you sharpen yourself, unless you stay persistent and resilient, you're probably going to crumble under that pressure. Because I don't know, like if I were in Alex Hormozi's position, if I had this company and my business partner stole all of my money, I was in crippling amounts of debt, I don't know if I right now would be able to just mentally bear with that, or like comprehend it, or just deal with it. So persistence, discipline, and resilience, I believe, are things that you can grow. They're skills. You can develop them over time. And you develop them over time by having your desire, having your beliefs, and testing those desires and beliefs against external resistance that will just come about naturally as you're trying to pursue your goal. So I've been reading this book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, and something he says, and I'm paraphrasing, is winners are persistent and losers give up. That's the only difference between winners and losers. Winners are persistent, losers give up. And despite how much Alex wanted to give up, and he was pretty much right on the cusp, he didn't. And part of that equation was Layla Hormozi. So as important as being resilient and persistent is, we are not islands. We can't do this whole life thing by ourselves. So the fact that Alex had Layla, and the fact that she was just loyal to the bitter end, like I said earlier, she was the linchpin that really held everything together and allowed him to stay persistent. In my eyes, Layla Hormozi is an unbelievably good example of what a significant other should be. Loyal to the end, steps up to the plate when time gets hard, and is just loving and supportive and believes in the other person. Despite how seemingly bad off they seem to be, she still believed in Alex. Another thing that I have learned from Alex Hormozi is you have to have an unbelievable work ethic. This is just a fact in general. I don't think any entrepreneur that exists out there is working as hard as Alex Hormozi. Some people say no one works as hard as The Rock in the gym. Maybe that's true. No one works as hard as Alex Hormozi in business, or potentially even in the gym. Because I don't know if you've seen pictures of the dude, but the dude is jacked. He's a freaking monster. So something about Alex is he is a self-described giver. In a lot of these podcasts he says, yeah, I have a tendency to give way more than I should, and for the longest time it would actually do me more harm than good. But it turned out to be a significant advantage because no one had that frame of mind. One of his philosophies is that goodwill compounds faster than money. So I'm sure you're aware of the compounding interest theorem principle. You have the initial set of money, you have the money you got from interest, and then that total sum that you have, so your initial money plus your interest, you then earn interest on that. That is the compounding interest. And what Alex says is that goodwill compounds faster than money. So this kind of goes along with, the dude's obsessed with business, so he talks a lot about business. And he talks a lot about how a lot of people don't work nearly as hard as they think they're working, and their product is not nearly as good as they think it is. And the quality of your business, the quality of your product is, I believe, directly correlated to how much you care about the customer and how much you believe you can help them. So if you don't actually care about the customer, if you don't care about the prospect, if you're not actually trying to help them, if you're in it just to make money, you're not really going to, you might be able to, but the likelihood that you are going to make money, the likelihood that you're going to be successful, the likelihood that people are going to organically recommend you to other people decreases exponentially. Bottom line, he's a good influence. He's a good example of how a business owner could and should be. He's a hard worker, he's resilient, he's persistent, he is a faithful, loving husband, and he's ripped and he's rich. That's it. He's an inspiring character.